Christina Rottensteiner is the chief of the UK mission of UN Migration. She joins us live from London on this. So what's driving immigration to the UK? I mean, Nadeem has told us some of the groups of people, but why are there, for instance, more people needed to fill jobs in the UK, and why are there more students who are immigrating to the UK now than before?
Thank you for that. So I would say that overall we have seen an increasing number, but it's important to keep a long-term perspective. The UK, like other high-income countries, has seen an increasing number of immigration, but it is not one that's really going up very much over time. But what we have seen last year is an increase because of separate events that have happened: the war in Ukraine, events in Hong Kong. We've also seen an increased demand due to students that the UK is keen to bring into the country. So all of this has accumulated, but I would say in the long term, the population, the foreign-born population in the UK is very similar to that of other countries and high-income countries, and has remained relatively the same. But what we do see is that there is a shortage in many sectors, particularly in the healthcare sectors. And this is also what has driven some of that increase. But I think we should really look beyond the numbers and look at the benefits that migrants bring, because they're huge to the UK economy and also the society.
Well, so if I could, exactly, that's what I wanted to get you to talk about, because a mainstream political argument in the UK, especially within the Conservative Party, is that immigration is a drag on the British economy, right? That immigrants take British jobs, that they cost the country money, etc. What do the numbers actually tell us on that?
Well, for example, the numbers tell us that migrants, so immigrants of working age, they contribute 3 times more than what the UK government spends on them. So I think this is really important to remember. Also, what we see in lots of high-income countries is an aging population. So if we don't want to see people working longer and taking their pension later, these countries will need migrant labor. So it's really important to have a very balanced narrative, because I feel in many countries we're talking about migration as something negative, but it is a fact of life. It is very much needed for the economies of the countries, and it's important to explain this to the population. And what's really interesting in the UK, the polls show that people are actually quite positive about migration. They understand the benefits. So it's really important to remain calm and balanced about this and talk about the benefits that migrants bring, and very much also focus on how can we make sure that migration benefits all, the countries that receive them, the migrants, so that they're protected, but also the countries of origin.
Well, so as you speak, we are seeing pictures of these small boat crossings, right, that we've talked about so much on Al Jazeera. Migrants, people who are fleeing, often in sub-Saharan Africa, Afghanistan, parts of Asia, and they travel across Europe and they cross the Channel onto these small boats trying to make it to the UK. Where do they fit into this picture?
Well, they're part of people who arrive, and they're people who need protection. And I think that's really the most important thing to remember, that people do not take such desperate journeys unless they really felt it was needed. People are fleeing conflict, and we can see that by the nationalities who arrive. So we need to make sure that they are able to travel on safe and legal routes, and very few of these exist at the moment. And this is why people are unfortunately taking these dangerous journeys. So IOM calls for more safe and legal routes to be established so that people can travel safely.
All right, Christa Rottensteiner, chief of the UK mission of UN Migration. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.